And I call the member for O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. Will the Treasurer please outline to the House how the Morrison government's unprecedented economic support to meet the challenge of the COVID-19 recession is helping families and businesses in my electorate of O'Connor and throughout regional and rural Australia more broadly? Is the Treasurer aware of any alternative approaches?
The Treasurer has the call.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker, and I acknowledge the member for O'Connor's experience as a farmer before he comes back to this place. I don't know what those opposite have against farmers, Mr Speaker, but when we're talking about regional and rural Australia, we're supporting farmers in O'Connor and across the country, Mr Speaker. And the member for O'Connor understands how we are now seeing the Australian economy recover from its biggest single shock in more than a century, Mr Speaker. 446,000 jobs have been created over the last 4 months. Yesterday we saw consumer confidence increase for the 10th straight week, Mr Speaker. Australia's AAA credit rating has been reaffirmed. And just last week we heard the Governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia say that we were on the right track with our economic response. But I can also inform this House that consumer sentiment had its biggest single jump in a budget month, when in October it increased by 11.9%. This was the biggest single jump in consumer sentiment since the series began back in 1974. And today we got this month's consumer sentiment number. And again it was up, Mr Speaker, up for a third straight month. And we have seen consumer sentiment recover from a downturn at its fastest rate on record, twice as fast as consumer sentiment recovered after the GFC, and more than 3 times as fast as consumer sentiment recovered after the 80s and the 90s recession. And one of the reasons for that is because the Morrison government has been supporting the economy with significant programs and projects like JobKeeper. $70 billion already out the door, supporting more than 5,000 businesses in the seat of O'Connor. $32 billion out the door with the cash flow boost, supporting more than 6,000 businesses in the seat of O'Connor. 2 $750 payments to pensioners, to millions of pensioners across the country, including more than 9,000 pensioners in the seat of O'Connor, Mr Speaker. And in this year's budget we had other measures to support regional and rural Australia, like $2 billion to help our farmers recover from drought, $350 million, Mr Speaker, to support regional tourism and another round of the Better Regions program, Building Better Regions program, $317 million to help our exporters access markets and build on the 80,000 tonnes of exports that we've already supported, Mr Speaker, and $2 billion in supporting new funding for the new water grid, Mr Speaker, for dams, for weirs and for pipelines. This government continues to support jobs across regional and rural Australia.